Even an enlightened master experiences fear. But why? What if everything you thought you knew about fear was just the tip of the iceberg? What if real fear isn't what you are afraid of, but what you believe yourself to be? And the most paradoxical idea of all, what if liberation from fear begins not with overcoming it, but with its complete acceptance? I'm about to challenge your conventional beliefs because this conversation could change your perception of reality and who you are. We tend to think of fear as an external threat, a fear of heights, a fear of losing a job, a fear of being alone. But these are just the visible symptoms. The real, deep-seated fear is hidden much deeper. It's the foundation upon which we build our entire lives. And this foundation is unstable because it is built on the biggest lie of all, that you are your personality. What is fear, really? And how does the mind deceive us? You are afraid. Of what? Loss? Death? Public judgment? Ask yourself this question and listen to the first thing that comes to mind. This is where it gets interesting. Our usual, everyday fear is nothing more than a memory projected into the future. It's your mind, like a restless monkey, swinging through the branches of past experiences and trying to predict what will happen next. It takes yesterday's pain, resentment, and discomfort and uses them to paint pictures of future catastrophes. As a result, you're not afraid of what is happening now, but of what might happen. For example, you're afraid to go to a job interview. What are you actually afraid of? Not the conversation itself, but the possibility of rejection. But why is rejection so scary? Because in the past, you've experienced a similar feeling, a feeling of inadequacy, rejection, or financial discomfort. The mind takes that experience and says, "See, that was painful. Don't let it happen again." It paints a picture of future pain, and that picture becomes your fear. And why does this happen at all? Because you identify with your body, your thoughts, your feelings, with everything you consider to be you. You are afraid of losing what you believe to be yourself, because this you is all you are. You identify with this personality, a shadow on a screen created by your mind, and you are afraid that this shadow will disappear. And that is the trap, because the real never begins and never ends. Only the false is afraid of its end. The one who is afraid is not you, but an illusion. And this illusion only exists as long as you believe in it. Why doesn't spiritual understanding eliminate fear instantly? Let's say you have read many books, listened to lectures, and intellectually understood. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am consciousness. You may even sincerely believe this. But then you walk out onto a busy street and are almost hit by a car. Your heart starts pounding and your breathing gets ragged. And just like that, you are afraid again. Why? Because understanding alone is not enough. Fear persists as long as identification persists. You may intellectually know that you are not the body, but at the level of reflexes, you still feel like the body. It's like learning to walk. You can't just read a physics textbook and immediately run. You have to fall over and over again, get up and try again until the new knowledge becomes part of your muscle memory, of your very being. In the same way, freedom from fear is not an instantaneous act, but a process where you learn to stay with the feeling of I am, and not with what appears in that feeling. You learn to observe fear without becoming it. You train your ability to be a witness. This witness is not afraid because it has no form to lose and no past to repeat. It simply is, and in its presence, fear loses its power. This is not a theoretical idea. This is a practice. What is the illusion of security? And why is it so appealing? We are constantly searching for stability, certainty, and security. We build homes, save money, and create relationships. But what are we actually looking for? We are looking for permanence where it doesn't exist. We want the world to give us something it cannot, by its very definition, provide. The world is in a constant state of change. Today, you have a home. Tomorrow, it's gone. Today, you have a job. Tomorrow, it's not there. Security is an illusion created by fear. It is the mind's attempt to control what is uncontrollable. It's like trying to stop the tide by building a sandcastle. It's pointless and destined to fail. The search for security is, in essence, a quest for something that doesn't exist in this world. The world is in a constant state of change, and it cannot give you what you already are. The illusion of security, created by fear, only binds you more tightly to the fleeting. It distracts you from what is most important, from what you already are. Freedom is not security. It's the knowledge that you don't need it. Imagine you were born on a ship that is constantly drifting in the ocean. You know only this ship, its creaks, its deck, and you begin to believe that you are the ship. You are afraid that it will sink, that a storm will hit, that the abyss will swallow it. You look for a safe harbour that you think will protect you. But at some point, you realise that you are not the ship, but the ocean it is sailing on. And how can the ocean be afraid of sinking? It cannot be consumed by anything, because it consumes everything. The realisation of this truth is the end of the search for security. What is the connection between fear and desire? Two sides of the same coin. Fear and desire are two sides of the same coin. You're afraid of not getting what you want, or of losing what you think you have. Both of these feelings arise from identification with the body and mind, with the personality. Do you want security, comfort, recognition? That's desire. It's inseparable from the fear of losing all of that. If you don't desire something, you won't be afraid of losing it. You are afraid that your mind will stop working. But the mind is a tool. You aren't afraid that a hammer will break. You just get a new one. So why are you afraid that your mind, your thoughts, will cease to exist? Because you think you are those thoughts. This is the main source of fear. Desire creates duality. There is me who wants something, and there is the object of desire. Fear arises when there is a threat to that connection. You are afraid of being alone because you believe you are separate. But the truth is, you are never alone. You are everything. And this realization destroys both desire and fear, because you understand that you have nothing to gain and nothing to lose. How to live without fear in everyday life. Let go of the doer. This doesn't mean you should become a cold, unfeeling robot who doesn't care about anything. It means you should stop being a doer and a sufferer. Imagine that your life is a movie you are watching. You can sit on the edge of your seat, clench your fists, and yell at the characters. Or you can calmly observe what's happening, knowing that it's all just a play of light and shadow on a screen. The same is true in life. Live from a place of awareness, not from a personality that is constantly trying to control everything. Let life happen. Let thoughts, feelings, and fears come and go like clouds in the sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. You are the space in which they appear and disappear. And this is not dissociation, as some might think. Dissociation is an escape from reality, an attempt not to feel. We are talking about observation, about being fully present in the moment, about the willingness to see everything as it is, without resistance or judgment. You see fear, you feel it in your body, but you do not become it. It's like watching a fire, not trying to put it out or get burned. You are just watching its dance. How to practice freedom from fear. The effort of no doer. Go to the root. Ask yourself, who is afraid? It's not your mind, your body, or your thoughts. It's that very illusion, that very personality with which you identify, and it is afraid of its own end. Stay with the feeling of, I am. Don't follow the fear. Don't resist it. Just observe it as a movement in consciousness and allow it to pass. It will dissolve on its own when you see its true nature. There is no failure in forgetting, only in not returning to yourself. The effort required of you is the effort of a no-doer, the effort of grace. It is not a struggle, but a relaxation into what you already are. Allow everything to be without trying to change anything. This is the most powerful form of action. Let's look at a concrete example. Suppose you are afraid to speak in public. In that moment, sensations arise in your body. A racing heart, sweating, trembling. The mind starts generating thoughts. What if I forget my words? They will laugh at me. Usually we try to fight these sensations and thoughts, trying to suppress them, and this only intensifies the fear. Instead, try to simply observe. Ask yourself, who feels this heartbeat? Who notices these thoughts? The answer will always be the same. I am. And this I am is not the personality that is afraid. It is simply pure presence. Stay with this presence. Let the thoughts and sensations come and go like clouds. You are the sky, not the cloud. You cannot control the weather, but you can simply be. This is not passivity, but a deep trust in life. What remains? When fear disappears. True courage. When you stop identifying with the doer and the sufferer, fear loses its power. You are no longer afraid of the thought that you won't achieve something, because you understand that you are not the one who has to achieve anything. You are not afraid of loss, because you understand that you are not the one who can lose something. You don't become free. You see that you were never bound. In the place of fear, silence remains. Peace, a deep, immovable feeling of eternal presence that does not move with events. You remain untouched, free. This is not euphoria, but a deep, inner peace. It's like watching a turbulent river while standing on an immovable, solid bank. The river flows, but you remain unchanged. And in this silence, you will discover that true courage is not the absence of fear. It is the realization that you have nothing to fear, because everything that you are cannot be destroyed or lost. This is the end of the search, because what you were looking for was always within. You were never something that needed to be saved or protected. You are what saves. And in this peace, where there is no fear, you acquire not just fearlessness, but something much greater, boundless love. Love that does not depend on external circumstances, because it comes from your very essence. It is the very love that mystics and poets speak of, but which cannot be described in words, because it is you yourself. You are this. And this realization is the most beautiful and most liberating thing that can happen to you. You are no longer afraid because you understand that you are everything and everything is you. How can one part be afraid of another? It's absurd. Fear is just an illusion of separation, and love is the realization of unity. And when you see that you are this love, fear simply disappears, like a shadow when a light is turned on. Now that you know this, what will you do with your life? Will you continue to build your sandcastle, or will you start living like the ocean? Why do we cling to fear? A habit that feels like security. Believe me, the mind does not want to let go of fear. It uses it as a tool for control. When you are afraid, you are in a familiar, albeit uncomfortable, zone. You know what to expect. This predictability, strangely enough, gives a false sense of security. The mind prefers familiar suffering to unfamiliar freedom. Many people cannot let go of fear because they don't know what life will be like without it. Who am I if I am not the one who is afraid? How will I act if there is no motivation based on avoiding pain? These are natural questions that arise when you begin to look deep within yourself. But this fear of the unknown is another mask that the ego wears to keep you in its prison. You are accustomed to your fear, like an old but reliable coat. It is worn out, you are cold in it, but it is yours. You don't want to throw it away because you are afraid to go outside naked. But what if naked is not vulnerability, but your true nature? Isn't this selfish? What about compassion? The thought might arise, if I stop identifying with myself, will I become indifferent to the suffering of others? Isn't it selfish to only focus on my inner world? And that's a beautiful, important objection. But the answer is simple. True compassion is only possible when you yourself are free from suffering. You cannot fill another's pitcher from an empty one. When you live in fear, you act out of need, out of a desire to get something in return, even if it is gratitude or recognition. True compassion does not need a recipient. It just is. It is not an action, but a state. When you realize that you are everything, you cannot help but be compassionate. It is as natural as breathing. You see the pain of another person not as something external, but as your own pain, but without attachment to it, without identification. And this allows you to act from a place of peace, not from fear. Freedom from fear doesn't make you indifferent. It makes you effective. You act not to get a result, but because the action is natural and necessary in the present moment. It's like a hand that doesn't think about saving the body. It just acts in harmony with the whole organism, accepting everything as it is, the key that unlocks all doors. Accept what is. It sounds simple, but it is perhaps the most difficult thing, because our minds are constantly resisting. It wants everything to be different. Why can't I be richer? Why can't he be kinder? Why is it raining on my day off? But in this resistance lies our primary fear. The fear that life is not happening according to our script. The fear of losing control. Liberation begins with a simple but revolutionary act. Acceptance. This is not passive resignation, but active consent to reality. It's like a swimmer who doesn't fight the wave, but uses its power to swim further. Acceptance doesn't mean you shouldn't act. It means you act without internal resistance. If it's raining, you take an umbrella. You don't get angry at the weather. If you lose your job, you don't panic. You start looking for a new one while being present in the moment, not in your fears. It's like water, which, when it encounters an obstacle, doesn't fight it, but flows around it. It always remains itself, and therein lies its strength. Your strength is to be like water, to accept everything that happens and continue to flow. Fear and meditation. Why is it necessary to just sit? If you've ever tried to meditate, you know how difficult it is. The mind, like a crazed monkey, starts to thrash even more, and the fears and worries you tried to suppress during the day surface. And many people give up at this point. But this is the most important moment. You don't need to try to stop the thoughts or chase away the fear. You just need to sit and observe them. You are not the thoughts. You are not the fear. You are the one who sees them. Meditation is not a way to relax, although that happens as a side effect. Meditation is a training for your inner witness. It is a practice that teaches you to be in a space of awareness, even when a storm is raging inside. And it is in this space that fear begins to lose its power. Imagine that your mind is a turbulent ocean full of waves of fear and desire, and you, by meditating, learn to be not the wave, but the bottom of the ocean. The waves come and go, but the bottom always remains motionless and calm. This stillness is you, your true nature. What to do with pain? When fear disappears. Freedom from fear does not mean that pain will disappear. Life will always bring loss, disappointment, and physical suffering. But the difference is in how you will experience them. Before, you experience pain as a sufferer, as a victim of circumstances. You felt not only the pain itself, but also the fear that it would never end, the fear that you would not be able to bear it. When fear disappears, only pure pain remains, and you experience it not as a sufferer, but as a witness. You feel it in your body, but you understand that you are not this pain. It is just a temporary experience in your consciousness. It's like watching a candle burn. You see the flame, you feel its heat, but you don't become it. And when the candle burns down, you remain unchanged. Pain is a part of life, but suffering is a choice. Suffering is resistance to pain. When you accept the pain, when you stop fighting it, it loses its power. It passes through you, like through transparent glass, leaving no trace. And it is in this that the greatest liberation lies. You become invincible, not because you cannot be hurt, but because you know that you are not the pain. True freedom, without boundaries, without conditions. In the end, what remains? Simplicity remains. The simple awareness of yourself. I am. Without all these layers. I am good. I am bad. I am successful. I am a failure. Without all these fears and desires. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. It is not a state to be reached and held on to. It is your original nature, which has always been here but was hidden under a thick layer of conditioning. When you let go of fear, you also let go of all ideas about yourself. You stop being who you thought you were. And in this liberation, you discover that you are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean itself. Boundless, eternal, motionless, yet full of life. You see that there is nothing to achieve. There is nothing to overcome. You're already everything you were looking for. And this knowledge doesn't just liberate you from fear. It makes your life full, meaningful, and infinitely beautiful. This is the end of the search, but it is only the beginning of true life. So, what will you choose? Will you continue to build your personality on a foundation of fear? Or will you take the risk and discover that you were always the home you were looking for? The choice is yours. And remember, there is no wrong answer. there is only the continuation of the story you tell yourself about yourself.